words of wisdom are imparted at these graduations. I'm convinced now, 71 years later, that I have very few words of wisdom to give out, but I probably can tell you one thing as far as success in the game. And it probably goes for lawyering, or it probably goes for teaching, or it probably goes for running any kind of business you've got, but it certainly does go for broadcasting. And that last piece of advice would be just show up. You have no idea how showing up, being on time, and being there through the run of the shift, without complaint, without problem, with ease and facility of behavior, is important to you and maintains you. I can probably say that when it comes to the larger stations and running a red line through your name or not, when it comes to cutbacks and station tightening their belts, and there are billions of businesses in America that goes on all day. If you perform the duty of showing up and doing the work, that alone will stop the red pen probably from going through your name. I have but one little short story to tell you about that, and that really strikes home with me after a number of years. Got to a big radio station, medium-sized radio station. Had to be in a union. In that station at the time had a couple of copy editors. One of them was a grizzled old guy who was about 120, he had rhino skin. He smoked like a chimney. He had breath that we won't even want to discuss here. His shirts were always dirty. They were rolled up to about here. The tie was always pulled down, and he was always very busy correcting us young writers who, in his own estimation, didn't know their blank blank from a blank blank. But he did hold writing classes. Here's how you do copy, here's how you do news copy. So he offered them. He didn't demand, but he offered. He was the chief copy editor. Didn't demand, he just said, if you want to show up, show up. So, in my youthful arrogance, I thought, nah, why should I do this? But for some reason or other, I thought maybe it'd be of value. I showed up, and I went to his copy lessons. I later on in my career admitted to myself it was one of the better judgments I ever made, because those little teachings lessons did me very well. But it was some months after the lessons, and I was sound asleep, and the phone rang, and it was this guy whose first name was Hank. And I heard his grizzled voice on the phone, said, "Finney, can you come in here?" And I said, well, I don't know, what's the deal? He said, well, I've called everybody, and again, we were union writers, so you could say no or you could say yes, or you didn't have to answer the phone. And he said, so-and-so didn't want to do it, so-and-so didn't want to come in, so-and-so didn't want to do this or that. And I said, yeah, I can come in. I said, what's the story? He said, you got a television set in that tiny little apartment of yours? I said, I do. He said, go turn it on. I'll see you in here in 30 minutes. So I staggered up from the bed, and while I was making coffee, I popped on the TV, said, this goes back. But there on the floor of a hotel in California was Robert F. Kennedy, dying from a bullet in his head. And everybody was screaming about it. I turned the radios on, I turned everything on, I couldn't believe it. I threw my clothes on, and I got to this station. And I wound up being the guy who wrote the show from 9 to 10 in the evening that was a documentary, a retrospective on Robert Kennedy's life. In that day and age, as in this day and age, you got actualities, all sorts of feeds coming in. You had to write it and rewrite it, and stuff was coming in at the last moment, interviews about him, interviews with the family, senators who knew him, and all of that stuff. Comes in, goes, you had to listen to it all, sort through it all, get it together in 60 minutes, 60 solid minutes, because it was basically an on-air obit, so it wasn't going to be interrupted with commercials. And they got a guy who went on to be an anchor at CBS down to read the copy. So this was a big deal, and I kind of slumped in a chair from 9 to 10 and listened to the show get read with this beautiful sonorous voice and went, wow. So I got a job. I was leaving the station for another job, and there was a sort of a goodbye thing at a bar for me. And I was standing up, and this guy came by, the editor, Hank, and he handed me a reel of tape, and it was this show. Now, that was patently illegal. Patently illegal. That was the property of the station. He said, here you go, kid. And what that meant was I could take this thing and chop this up into 35 different ways and use it as a demo and send it out for my work. So I got it, and I was in awe, and I couldn't believe it. I did chop it up. I did send it out. I did go to my new job. I was there 2 weeks and got offered a better job because of it, and left for the better job. And I left a lot of anger behind, but I left for the better job. But I remember this. At the end of this little soiree in a bar I can no longer remember, I went up to the Hank at the end of the evening, and I said to him, true story, why did you do this? Because, you know, we're talking a grizzled old guy in his late 60s and a kid in his mid-20s. And he looked at me and he said, you're the only one who showed up. The only one. And he walked off. Well, because I showed up, if nothing else, I got this bootleg copy of a show with a voice on it from a guy who 2 months later was reading the evening news on the CBS network that I could chop up and ship around. Man, oh man, that opened doors like nobody's business, but that would never have happened had I not walked in there and said, okay, I'll come in. Had I done something else, much less wiser, that would never have happened. So I tell you that as the only main principle I can leave with you: show up. If you become a dependable resource, you're going to have longevity. I'd like to bring Wendell up now. Wendell Ray has been around, both as an administrator and media, on the TV and radio side as a news director, with a lot of thoughts about the game. And I did ask Wendell to come by and share with you guys some of his experienced thoughts and some of his thinking about what you step off into next. Wendell?
Thanks. Congratulations, fellas, on your accomplishments. Congratulations also to your families. I know it takes a lot of support for you to be here. My remarks are going to be brief, but kind of just supporting what has already been said in relating my story and how I began and where I ended up. First of all, just want to say, you know, you came here with some dreams and some aspirations and idea of where you want to go, and had a career in mind and a vision of where you want to be as a broadcaster and what you want to do. And I say always hold on to that, because that is always going to guide you in terms of what you end up doing. But I also say, as you start off, much like Mr. Finney showed up, I say, you know, go with where they are offering the position. That's the best position, is the one that's being offered to you, because you never know. Everybody's path is going to be different, and everybody's experience to where they get to where they ultimately want to be is different. I started as a high school intern doing reports at a radio station that I eventually became the operations manager of, and I had no idea that's what was going to happen when they offered me the position to come and study the morning news anchor at a radio station in Indianapolis, but it's what happened. And I encourage you, when you work with Don and he's got leads for you, that you pursue them, and you pursue them with an openness of mind in terms of it being just the door to getting to where you want to be. I remember, and once you get there, don't worry about messing up because it will happen. It is a learning experience. I remember I had been at my new station for about 2 weeks and got a call. I was a beat reporter chasing fire trucks at 3 o'clock in the morning and reporting on murders and all kind of stuff and boring city council meetings. And I was at our bureau downtown, and this is in Indianapolis, and my news director called and said, Wendell, you're going to anchor the 6 o'clock news. And this is about 2 o'clock when he called me. So for 3 hours, I'm shaking like a leaf, not knowing what I'm going to do. So I get back early and I type out my newscast, and I'm waiting 30 minutes ahead of time. I'm prepared as can be. I've got extra copy. I've got all my sound bites ready to go. I've read my first story 100 times because I figured if I can just get to that first story, I'll be okay. And so the clock is ticking down, and I'm watching my time to go on, and the newsroom was here, where I am, say, and then the on-air talent is on the other side of a glass partition, and I can hear him. I got my headphones on, I got my board ready, and I hear, you know, the top of the hour jingle, which is my cue to go. And so I hit my buttons, and I'm talking, and I read my first story, and I hit the audio, and everything's going fine, and I breathe a sigh of relief because I know I've made it through, and I look over out of my peripheral here, and I see the jock, and he's standing at the door to the newsroom, you know, and he walks in, and he comes over, and I said, you know, I look up at him, and he pushes a button. He said, you haven't been on the air this whole time. And I thought that I was going to get fired, you know, because for about a minute and a half, I'm just, you know, I've been talking into a dead mic. And I felt like an idiot, but no one said anything to me. And I ended up coming back, and I anchored the next news. I ended up getting better at it and better at it, and ended up becoming news director at one point. So I say, you know, you're going to stumble, but keep in pursuit of what you're doing, because you never know where you're going to end up and what doors are going to open. The important thing, though, is just to walk through that first door that's open for you, because you don't want to get to the point where it's trying to pick and choose too much. I mean, I'm not saying accept anything, but be open to everything. And I'm sure that with the diligence that you've shown and just getting through this program, that will pay off in terms of your career and where you go. And much love and much respect to you for what you've done. And I encourage you to continue because broadcasting is opening in ways that it wasn't when I was first getting into it. You've got all sorts of opportunities in terms of internet and the web and how you can apply the skills that you've learned here. So congratulations to you. Keep moving, keep pressing on, and the best of luck to you. But also remember, when you do achieve those heights, one thing that I encourage you to do is just to stay humble. A lot of people, when they make it, become the biggest jerks in the world for whatever reason. You know, and I've met a lot of people in my time as a broadcaster, as I'm sure most of us who have been in it for a while can list off a number of people that we've interviewed, that we got to shake hands, that we've got to do things with. And those people were more humble than some of the on-air personalities that I've run across in my lifetime. And I don't know what it is about being behind a microphone that gives people a big head. But I just encourage you to stay humble and remember, you know, that you started somewhere down here before you got there. And so don't forget about us back here either, though, okay? All right. Congratulations, though.
You want to, as you get into the stations, get to know everybody, work with them a lot, stay with them, learn from them. We have given you the information that you need and the knowledge that you need to get in the door, and I'll help you with that. I'll point you in the right direction. I'll help you with anything that you need. I worked with you guys on your demos. I worked with you on your resumes. You now have your package to market your brand. You all know what you want to do, but you're open to other things, which is great. That's exactly what you want. And over the next, you know, period of time, and I think, well, when I first started working with you guys, I gave you my home email and said, anytime you run into a jam, shoot me an email. I'll help you out with anything you need. That's what you'll get from us.
Well, now I would like to introduce Vanessa Hernandez, who is our executive assistant in the education department, and a stalwart who takes care of grades and hours and all manner of academic comings and goings of things and keeps them on record so we can get everybody graduated and properly attended to. So we would like to give the diplomas now Don and Wendell, if you guys would come up, we'll hand these out and bid these gentlemen here, not farewell, but good luck.
This way?
Sure. Congratulations, gentlemen. Can Patrick Ketska please come up? You want to turn around and hold your diploma?
Congratulations.
Nicholas Pena.
Thank you.
Tim Butera.
I can't tell if he's taking a picture. Sorry, guys.
Congratulations.
We have one more award to hand out, kind of a special award, and I'd like to make note of this. I don't know how many of you folks know this, but one of the things you have to do is you spend 11 and a half months here outside of classwork, and you come for 4 hours a class for 3 classes a week for, I once did the math on this, something like 665 hours to get through the program just in classwork. But on top of that, we also ask that the student get 308 additional hours. Half of that is practice hours, coming in here and just practicing what has been taught in the classroom. And another, the other half is about 150 hours also of an internship. And those combined together come to 308, and that is required to graduate. We have a student in this class who did far better than 308 and set something of a record. I'll let Vanessa tell you about that.
Tripled the required amount. Patrick Ketska completed 726 hours with his year with us. So Patrick, congratulations.
Being a stalker paid off.
Well, I'm afraid to shake your hand now.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you guys. You are the bestest. You really committed yourself to this program. We wish you the best. We're going to be with you down the trail. And also, on top of everything else in life, one should say good luck. Good luck to you.